Welcome back guys to another Odyssey video. I totally know the fact that a lot of you will like to play with the Pilgrim set, so I don't want to let you down and completely destroy this set with a build that is so OP that will deal 50 million damage, crit every time, and just will do everything like the super powerful epic builds we do here. But you still keep the infinite Shadow of Nyx ability. Forget about everything you know about the Pilgrim set or Shadow of Nyx. This is the new Shadow of God build, dealing over 50 million damage and completely melting every enemy in every situation. We will have ESO enhanced 100% crit chance, over 600% critical damage, and even 90% damage with your weapon, depending on which weapon you actually pick. There will be several variations for this. Every weapon you want to play with will be included, and there's even one version that will deal over 200,000 warrior damage and 900,000 assassin damage. Of course, a lot of this damage is coming from the Typhoon's Axe, which was on sale at Zargon recently, and you could finally purchase it without getting any error message. So totally get this weapon. It is not only ridiculously strong, it gives you 20% crit chance, 200% critical damage, but it also has a great synergy effect with Shadow of Nyx, because whenever you want to activate your Typhoon's Axe ability, it is not immediately applied. You have to abort it using Shadow of Nyx and then reactivate it the second time, and only after activating it the second time you will actually get the 200% bonus. So having Shadow of Nyx, or especially a Shadow of Nyx build, is crazily strong in combination with the Typhoon's Axe. But now let's first check out the damage values. Depending on which weapon type you want to use, you will get up to 940,000 damage with a light attack, 1.4 million damage with a heavy attack, and 4.3 million damage with a charged heavy attack. Ring of Chaos will be up to 2.2 million damage, Fury of the Bloodline around 7.4 million damage, and an overpower attack around 15 million damage. These are the values when you equip a sword, but of course you can also play with daggers or any other weapon as well. Devastating Shot will deal around 5 million damage, and Predator Shot will deal around 7 million damage. And even if your enemies got stuck in a wall, you can still relieve them with a 3.4 million damage Ghost Arrow. And of course your assassin abilities are absolutely top tier. No matter if you want to do a rush assassination or a normal assassination, you will always one-shot every mercenary, even on Nightmare, with a single hit. You don't have to go for any critical assassinations because your normal assassinations will always be enough. And even if you struggle sometimes, you could still use Ares Madness and simply blow them away. But now let's finally check out the build. In the maximum damage variant we have over 200,000 warrior damage and 900,000 assassin damage. However, this is not the optimal way, since it also uses daggers to achieve this value. A much better version is one that only has 140,000 warrior damage and 870,000 assassin damage, because in this variant we can use ESO enhanced to protect ourselves, but if you don't need that protection, then check out the dagger variant after this explanation, which can also be used for any other weapon type as well. Even though this build is mainly focused on assassin damage, but we will still use the Bighorn Bow because the Bighorn Bow is simply too good to be skipped. If you want to optimize your build, you should always use it in any build. It doesn't benefit you if you lose like half of your warrior damage for just a 10% assassin damage that will go into nowhere. So definitely get the Bighorn Bow, because sometimes they are just enemies which you have to hit hard. If you're watching one of these build videos for the first time, the Bighorn Bow is a glitched item that will add all its 6495 DPS to your left melee weapon, so it is basically doubling your left melee weapon damage. Make sure you use the correct weapon, and if you haven't gotten the Bighorn Bow yet, use your 200 free credits to get it for free from the store. Since the armor items are lacking a serious amount of critical chance, we have to use special weapons to increase our crit chance, such as the Copycat Sword. The Copycat Sword can be found at the end of the A Really Bad Day questline in Lokris. The best engraving to put on this weapon in this build will be the Hunter damage conversion, because with the Hunter damage conversion and the Curve engraving we will simply convert another 100% out of it for free. For the second melee weapon we will use another awesome item which gives us 20% crit chance at full health, which is the Typhoon's Axe. In order to activate its 200% critical damage with fire attack, you have to use your Flaming Attack's ability. It does not work with a permanent fire engraving, and so we don't use it in our build. So simply activate Flaming Attacks, then you have to abort it with Shadow of Nyx and activate it again, because it only works after the second activation for some reason. Then on the Bighorn Bow we'll go for another 10% crit chance. Bows are the only natural place for weapons to engrave crit chance, so we definitely use it. However, this build will still be only at around 90% crit chance. But if you drop the ISO enhance on your helmet and engrave 20% crit chance at full health, you can of course get 100% crit chance easily, and you will even have room to engrave something like armor penetration on your bow. However, using ISO enhance on your helmet has a much greater benefit for your build, since it always protects you from dying. On the Pilgrim set bracers, we will engrave 100% critical damage while full health. To unlock this engraving, you have to complete 5 specific ostracas and then further upgrade it at Hephaestus workshop in Marlis. On the belt, we will engrave the same, another 100% critical damage while full health, and then on the torso, we will go for the Corfu engraving, which gives us 100% all damage but minus 100% resistances. To unlock this engraving, you have to go to Corfu Island, go to the Collidi farm, collect the tablet, and then go to the northeast and solve the location at the docks. And on the boots we will go for 20% crit chance at full health. You can also do this on the helmet, but as I said, ISO enhance will probably be better. To unlock crit chance at full health, you also have to complete a certain set of ostracas and then further upgrade it. All this will give us the following stats of 550% warrior damage, over 600% assassin damage. We have 90% crit chance, and when the Typhoon's X bonus is active, we will have over 575% critical damage. Alongside with 60% fire damage, negative resistances, and a ton of adrenaline bonuses, which simply come with the Pilgrim set. However, if you want to do the max damage variant or simply play with another weapon type, then I recommend you to do the following build. However, having 200,000 warrior damage and 900,000 assassin damage doesn't necessarily mean you will deal more damage, especially not when using daggers, because every dagger attack will only deal half the amount of damage than with swords. So take that with a big grain of salt here, because daggers are not necessarily stronger than swords. However, other weapons will be. For our left melee weapon, we will go here with a perfect assassin dagger with assassin damage, critical damage and damage with daggers. And then we will similarly engrave the convert 50% hunter damage bonus to all damage. If you want to play with different weapon types and daggers or swords, you can of course also go for a heavy blunt that has critical damage and damage with heavy blunt. You can go for a staff with critical damage and damage with staffs, or even for a spear that has critical damage and damage with spears. It is really only important that any other weapon type should also have critical damage and damage with their corresponding weapon type. If it has assassin damage or warrior damage is mainly up to you. On the Typhoon's Axe we will go for an additional 100% base damage, and on the Big Hand Bow again we will use the 10% crit chance. However, something that is really a big change is that we have 20% crit chance while full health on our helmet, on our headgear. This will give you 100% crit chance with any weapon type you want, but you will also have absolutely no protection. The hood also has a damage with daggers engraving, which makes daggers the strongest weapon on paper, but having 200,000 damage in your inventory doesn't necessarily mean you deal more. It will actually mainly affect your abilities like Ring of Chaos, which will be stronger when you play with daggers, but other than that, your normal attacks will just be a lot weaker. So you can use daggers or rather play with any different weapon type like blunts, staffs and spears instead if you want. The effect will likely be the same. All the other items are completely unchanged. We go for 100% critical damage on our bracers, we go for the same 100% critical damage on our belt, we will use the Corfu engraving with 100% all damage but minus 100% resistances on the torso, and another 20% crit chance on our boots. In the max damage variant you will have 220% warrior damage, 630% assassin damage, 90% damage with daggers, 100% crit chance and 625% critical damage. But this will mainly result in your abilities like Ring of Chaos, Fury and Overpower being a little stronger than in the recommended variant. Don't forget to watch the abilities and masteries, because they still contribute a lot to your actual damage, especially the abilities. For your hunter abilities, it is most important to actually use Sixth Sense, because that will simply double your damage with any hunter ability as long as there's an exclamation mark over your enemies. And it also allows you to overrun every enemy with a normal assassination even at daylight when you run towards them. Invest 2 points on Arrow Master to unlock your poison and fire arrows. Fire arrows are especially important if you want to use the Typhoon's Axe bonus damage. Don't forget to get Multi-Shot, Devastating Shot and Predator Shot. Predator Shot will be the strongest one with 600%. And Devastating Shot will deal 400%. Archery Master is also mandatory. It gives you 40% hunter damage and 40% headshot damage, and these 40% hunter damage will also be converted to be 20% warrior damage. Overpower Bow Strike doesn't work with the big hand bow, so only invest 1 point to unlock the Ghost Arrows of Artemis, then go for Charged Heavy Attack, go for Weapons Master to get additional critical chance and weapon damage, go for Gear Master, and then of course Flaming Attacks. Flaming Attacks is the most important ability because this is the only way to activate the 200% critical damage from the Typhoon's Axe, and having 3 points on it will cost you no adrenaline to use. Of course go for Fire Mastery for the additional fire damage, Overpower, Ares Madness, even every attack that doesn't deal any fire damage such as Ares Madness and Furious the Bloodline will still benefit from the 900% crit damage. If you don't have Furious the Bloodline, you can of course also use Hero Strike instead. Don't forget to use Ring of Chaos and Second Wind as well. In the Assassin tree, go for Shadow Assassin for the additional critical damage and assassin damage. Absolutely get Rush Assassination because it is one of the most useful assassin abilities that assassinates multiple people at the same time. Then go for Stealth Master because you also get an additional 10% damage boost whenever you play overnight. That is also applied to Hunter and Warrior abilities. Shadow of Nyx can not only be used to get out of combat every time you want to, but it also has a great synergy effect for activating the Typhoon's Axe. In order to do that, you have to use your Flaming Attacks ability, then interrupt it with Shadow of Nyx and activate it immediately again. And if you want to delete your enemies from the game, you can of course also go for Death Veil. If you have only around 200 points available, you should spend 12 points on Hunter damage, 20 points on crit chance, 12 points on critical damage, then 15 points on Warrior damage because it is a bit more important than Hunter damage, 8 points on armor penetration and fire damage each, max out damage swords, and max out critical chance while full health, and then put another 12 points on critical damage and damage while full health. If you have around 400 points or more, you can of course go all in, max out Hunter damage, all the crit chance, headshot damage, the Hunter abilities, adrenaline on headshot kill, chance to not consume special arrows and Hunter abilities, max out Warrior damage, fire damage, armor penetration, go for a couple of points on damage restored as health and Warrior abilities, max out damage whenever time is slowed down, damage swords, the crit chance, critical damage stuff, put a couple of points on adrenaline, damage on leads and bosses, and even damage with your assassin abilities. If you need help to adapt this build to your preferred weapon types, then don't hesitate to come to our Discord server or become a premium member so you can ask me directly for a complete build. Please don't forget to subscribe, leave me a like, and see you next time.